Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And we got some tasty main course for you this evening. And I'm talking about the Saints' big time win, big time get back game against the New England Patriots. So the Saints won 34 to nothing after New England Patriots had just lost the game 38 to 3 on the road to the Dallas Cowboys, and now the Saints give the New England Patriots like the worst home loss in franchise history, and the first time that they've had 30 points or more scored on them with the differential since like the 1970s. And so we knew going into this game that this was pretty much a loser leaves town type of game, or you lose this team to basically yourself. You know, you're looking in the mirror at a very similar team to you, and if you lose this game, the season's over. But the Saints, they pulled it together. I expected this to be a lot closer game. If not, wouldn't even been surprised if New England would have ended up winning, you know, with how Bill Belichick always schemes it up just right to take away your best player on offense and defense and make you do something else to beat them. But that wasn't the case. There was none of that. There was no Bill Belichick magic in this game. Pretty much everything for the majority of this game that the Saints tried to do worked, and pretty much everything New England tried to do in this game didn't work. And I don't know if I could say that this 34 to nothing blowout, the most recent shutout since the Saints beat Derek Carr's Raiders uh, in 2022, shut them out. But I don't know if this proves anything that the Saints offense is fixed or their defense is back to being elite and should be consistent like that for the rest of the year. Because honestly, after watching this game, I more of the biggest conclusion that I came to is that New England, they're just bad. They're a bad team. Like everything that they tried to do just didn't work. Their rookie punter, I think they got a rookie punter and a rookie kicker just like the Saints, but their rookie punter was terrible. Had like some 30-yard punt shanks like out of bounds, and then their rookie kicker missing kicks, like their only opportunity to get any points in this game. So they were like this, like coming into this game was thinking that these two teams are very similar, and you know they are struggling on offense, but they're still got both have good defenses. They look like complete opposites in this game. That's how bad the New England Patriots look. But anyways, let's get into some of the key moments and the highlights of this game, and just let's go over this game. Let's dig into it a little bit deeper. So, can I get a menu? And so this is like the first moment of the game. So this was similar to like the Buccaneers game, you know, where they were kind of moving on their first drive. It looked like maybe they were going to go get some points. I think the Saints did get 3 points on their first drive against the Buccaneers, but this was to that drive, similar to that in the way that they have drives all the time that early on they look promising and then they kind of break down, and with how the offensive line's been playing, you're thinking, oh, here's this same story. I've seen this story 1,000 times. But it's the 11:23 mark of the first quarter. It's a 3rd and 10, and the Saints are at midfield. They're actually in Patriots territory, so they're close. They only need really just a couple, maybe like 5 yards or something to get in field goal range. And Carr drops back, and it's like a all out blitz, overload blitz, and Derek Carr just has like no time to throw it all and is sacked and loses like 10 yards on the play. So once that happened early on in the game, because the Saints got the ball first, it's been five straight games that the Saints haven't won a coin toss. I just that alone would make me feel better about any game going into, is that the Saints win the coin toss and are able to defer to the second half. But that's been kind of an issue that the Saints have dealt with. They've had kind of some bad luck on coin tosses. So, first drive looked promising and then ends in a big Derek Carr sack, which is that's it just felt like this is going to be the same thing I've been watching the last 2 weeks, and honestly, the past 4 weeks, honestly, because they weren't amazing in those first two games either. But I would hash that sack up, all the sacks. I think Carr got sacked twice in this game, but uh, this that one was well, he really just had nowhere to go on that one. But the other one, he kind of held on to the ball a little long. So that's kind of what it seems like with the Saints offensive line. It's either they give Carr enough time to throw and then he gets sacked, or he holds on to it too long and gets sacked, or then the other times he gets sacked, it's because he just has no chance in hell of getting it to anyone. So the Saints pretty much just wasted their first drive like that. And then I think the Saints and the Patriots traded punts back and forth. And then at the 7-11 mark of the first quarter, it's a 3rd and 6 uh, at the Patriots 24-yard line. And Mac Jones throws a pick six to Tyrann Mathieu, who obviously he took it to the house, took it 24 yards for a touchdown. And on that play, Mac Jones, kind of like the opposite of Carr when taking sacks, Carr kind of just turtles up for the most parts and doesn't try to fight out of them too much. But that's what happened on this play is as Mac Jones is like getting hit and trying to make a play or throw it away, he's getting hit by Carl Granderson, who had an amazing game in this game. I believe he had like 3 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss, and a sack in this game. Like he should be up for consideration for NFC Defensive Player of the Month. But this was complete tidal wave of change of momentum. This pick six by Tyrann Mathieu, adding to his career interceptions of 30. He's got the big 3-0 in career interceptions, and that was his 4th pick six. And that play reminded me so much of when the Saints played the Patriots in Foxborough in 2021 when Malcolm Jenkins got a pick six off of Mac Jones as well, and it just seemed like it was like just an avalanche of too much pressure and too much momentum taken away from them for them to ever get back in this game. And it was very similar in the game that the Saints beat them in 2021. Like that was the tone setter of that game. Like the game was pretty much because the Saints won 34-0. The game was pretty much over there with just the 6 points from Tyrann Mathieu. But that was very reminiscent to me of the Malcolm Jenkins pick six in 2021. But the game goes on. It's a 5:47 mark of the first quarter. It's a 3rd and 7, and the Patriots kind of look promising on this drive. That's what I always seems to happen when games are the Saints are playing someone. They'll get a score and maybe feel like they're a little bit comfortable, and then the opposing offense just marches right down the field and gets another score to make it closer or tie it back up. But it was the 4:47 mark of the first quarter. It was a 3rd and 7, and Mac Jones completes a deep pass down the sidelines to Demario Douglas for 24 yards, and then coming in late, I think he was coming in more to try to get a pass deflection or knock the ball out. Marshawn Lattimore gets hit, labeled with an unnecessary roughness penalty on a play where it didn't even look like a catch. Like it was close, but when Demario Douglas kind of came down and rolled over, it looked like the laces of the football were touching the ground, and like Marshawn Lattimore, as he like kind of came over the top of him, kind of kicked the ball out, which that should have just made it like a pass deflection, like an incomplete pass. But instead, they get hit with what would that have been? That would have been 39 yards, which includes the penalty. And then they get down in the field goal range at the 3:54 mark of the first quarter. It's a 4th and 3, and Chad Ryland actually misses a 48-yard field goal. Like I think for weeks I've been talking about how opposing kickers never miss anything that's under 60 yards. So that was just that kind of gave you kind of like the climate of this game, that like everything was working for the Saints and nothing was working for the Patriots, and that trend continued throughout the game. So when they were first setting up for that, I was thinking, oh, they're gonna Chad Ryland, who's a rookie kicker like Blake Groupie, was gonna bang that right down the middle for a 48-yard field goal and kind of settle down some of the momentum that the Saints had and cut into the lead a little bit. But the thing I noticed before he kicked it is that he was like 4 for 7 on field goals this year, so he hadn't really been that good. So that played into Saints' favor a little bit there. So then the Saints get the ball back kind of at midfield. It's the 2:02 mark of the first quarter. It's a 3rd and 11, and Carr passes deep over the middle for a 26-yard pass completion to Michael Thomas, and he gets ripped down at the very end. And so that's impressive. That's like iconic, OG, classic Michael Thomas. Picking up those third downs and picking up large, intermediate to large gains over the middle. Just that tough, physical wide receiver. I love seeing that out of every player that's played this year and made some plays. Michael Thomas, it's really nice watching him get back into his form, that he was in before he got hurt in 2020. So that was just awesome. He's done that all year, picking up third downs when they need them. So the drive continues. It's the 1-minute mark of the first quarter. It's a 2nd and 26. Carr completes another deep to intermediate to deep pass to Rashid Shaheed for a 25-yard gain, and that gets them down in the red zone. And then at the 24-second mark of the first quarter, it's a 3rd and goal. Alvin Kamara rushes in for a 2-yard touchdown, and then that breaks the record of career touchdowns, offensive touchdowns by Marcus Colston. He was tied with him, I think, at 76, and then he broke the record and now is the sole owner of the Saints' career touchdowns leader, total touchdowns leader. That's rushing or receiving with 77. So that was a big mark, and that even that brought juice to the team. That the Patriots weren't able to get points, but then the Saints were able to continue to add to their lead. And then I'm sure Alvin Kamara and everyone was aware that he was only one touchdown away from being the all-time leading scorer for the Saints in those categories. So that just continued to swing and give all the Saints the momentum and have them all fired up for the game. And that just continued. That started after the Tyrann Mathieu interception, pick six, and it never really tapered off from there. Then the Saints get a quick turnaround. The Patriots don't do anything with their next drive, so then the Saints get it back. It's 13:22 mark of the second quarter. It's a 1st and 10, and Carr checks down to Kendra Miller for a 33-yard gain, and that was maybe one of the most impressive plays of the game, honestly, offensively at least. I was saying I loved some of the plays that Michael Thomas made, but this was just this when he first threw it out there, I thought it was Adam Prentice at first, and I was like, oh, Adam Prentice, he's got a chance to redeem himself here. But then the play went on, and the pass was caught, and you're seeing Kendra Miller out there showing great balance and ability to break tackles, and he's got the same elbow protectors on as Alvin Kamara, and he's showing like great balance. Like hell, he's looking like Alvin Kamara out there catching passes. So that was uh, great to see Kendra Miller contributing and looking healthy on that big play. Definitely the biggest play of the game with the 33, biggest offensive play of the game with the 33-yard gain from it. And then the drive continues, and the Saints start showing a little bit of toughness. Like, hey, maybe they're able to run the ball here a little bit because they were effective running with just Alvin Kamara, picking up 4 or 5 yards a carry and then getting the 2 yard touchdown run. But then at the 12:06 mark of the second quarter, it's a 2nd and 10, and Taysom Hill has a rush for 12 yards where he's like using just like talking about Kendra Miller and Alvin Kamara, use great balance and strength to stay in on the sidelines and pick up 12 yards. So the Saints continue to get down into the Patriots red zone, and it's a 10:53 mark of the second quarter. It's a 2nd and goal, and Carr passes uh, to Olave over the middle for a 5 yard touchdown. So that puts the Saints up 21-0, and that's getting kind of towards. I guess that was about the midway point of the of the of the first half, and I wasn't. I still, even at that point, I still wasn't convinced that they were going to win, or I have PTSD still from the choke job in Green Bay. So I was still feeling like, oh man, they still maybe need at least a field goal to make sure that this win is completely safe. But they take it up 21-0 at the a little after the 11-minute mark of the second quarter, and then the Patriots get it back, and they're moving it a little bit, getting kind of close to midfield. It's the 6:58 market of 58 market of the second quarter. It's a 3rd and 8, and Mac Jones goes deep, and the ball is knocked away by Paulson Adebo. And I think that was something that was very noticeable in this game, is that I don't know if it's Mac Jones and the quality of his receivers, but having Paulson Adebo back as your starting wide receiver and not seeing like any one individual corner like targeted and picked on throughout the game, which I think you saw that in those 2 games that Paulson Adebo was out. You saw that Jordan Love was kind of picking on Alontae Taylor and Isaac Yadam, and similar in the game against the Bucks. I think Baker Mayfield did the same thing against Alontae Taylor and Isaac Yadam. I think Isaac Yadam gave up like all those receiving touchdowns through those 2 games, but you didn't have to see Isaac Yadam out there because Paulson Debo was back holding things down, and he may have had like a pass interference or a defensive holding call once in the game, but that's just kind of what Paulson Debo does. He's a physical man corner that wants to get your hands on him, but he's not going to give up anything cheap, and he's not a corner similar to Isaac Yadam that's going to get picked on, like noticeably picked on in a game. And I was high on Paulson Adebo after his rookie year, and I've always liked him more than Alontae Taylor, honestly. So I think that was a big boost, just getting Paulson Adebo back. I think that takes your defense from being good to like really good. When you have 2 great starting corners like Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo. So then the Saints, I think they trade some drives and are moving it a little bit, and it's the 1:17 mark of the second quarter. It's a 3rd and 7, and Carr goes deep to Olave, but he couldn't stay in bounds. He couldn't. He got like his left foot down and had enough room on the sidelines to catch this deep pass, and just wasn't able to drag his right foot to get in bounds on this play. And Olave had like one of his worst career games in his career, one of the worst games in his career last week against the Buccaneers. And besides the touchdown that he had, the 5 yard touchdown over the middle that he had, this was not a good game either, with issues with being able to get his feet in bounds, and even a drop later on. So I don't know. I think Olave was working out an ankle or a knee injury in pregame warmups, but played in this game and on plays like that where he goes deep and was open, and on another play goes deep and he's open for a touchdown, but isn't able to make catches. It didn't look like whatever knee or ankle issue was giving him any trouble in regards to staying in bounds or not catching the football because his speed looked fine. But yeah, Olave's been in a little bit of a slump, and I've always kind of said that about Olave. He's either kind of not the most physical receiver in the world, and sometimes he can have a drop problem. He drops passes sometimes. I think it's a mental or focus issue that he has, but he's in a slump right now. It'd be nice to see him get out of that and put up like 100-yard uh, touchdown, 100-yard receiving and a touchdown game against the Houston Texans next Sunday. So the Saints weren't able to get anything out of that. Ended up having to punt because they weren't able to get any closer, and so which that should have got them down in the Patriots red zone. So then the Patriots, they start moving it a little bit. They get their 2-minute offense together, maybe try to see if they can at least get a field goal. And it's around midfield. It's a 1st and 10, and Jones is sacked by Jordan and Tano Passanio for like a 14-yard loss or something. Yeah, it must have been like a 7-yard loss or something like that. And then they pick up a couple yards on 2nd down to get it to 3rd and 14. It's the 23-second mark of the 2nd quarter. It's 3rd and 14, and Jones is sacked again, like almost on back-to-back plays. He's sacked again by Carl Granderson, who we were just talking about had such a great game, had already been having such a great game with the way that he's been pressuring the quarterback and getting tackles for losses and hit Mac Jones on the pick 6 play. So then that just ends up ending out the first half. So then it's the 14:04 mark of the 3rd quarter. It's 3rd and 1, and the Patriots are lined up like they're going to do like a quarterback sneak or a push tush, just to try to pick up the 1st down. And they do this play where Mac Jones gets it out of like the heavy set, and he goes like pitch it back to Ramondre Stevenson, and it's just a bad pitch, and it's fumbled. And Cam Jordan, who is already having a good game as well, had a half a sack, just right there to jump on the fumble. So just nothing is working for the Patriots in this game. They just couldn't seem to do anything right. They having trouble with turnovers. Their special teams is no good. And so that gets the Saints in Patriots territory, pretty much already in field goal range. But the Saints weren't able to move much after that. They weren't able to get much more yards, and the drive ended up getting killed by the 2nd Derek Carr sack of the game, and that was the one where he held on to it way too long. So that ends up making a field goal opportunity that they already had even longer than it was. So the Saints still are even though they blew the Patriots out in this game. That's just something you don't want to see a team have to do. So it went from a shorter field goal that was somewhere in the 40s to being a 54-yarder. So it's the 11:39 mark of the 3rd quarter. It's 4th and 17 after the sack, and Blake Grupe just nails a 34-yard field goal, and that's in the wind, the wind tunnel of Foxborough. Now that they have the big media screen, that takes up like half of, I think, like the south side of the stadium. So Blake Grupe getting some redemption, after some people being down on him after missing the 47-yard possibly game winner against Green Bay, but comes back in this game and sets his career long for a 54-yard field goal. So, I mean, it was a crucial one that he missed in Green Bay, but he's still showing that he's got the distance to make those types of field goals. He can make those types of field goals. The only difference I'll say with this is that, I mean, the Saints were already up 21-0, so you could say that there really wasn't any pressure. This wasn't like a high pressure moment. So that can affect people more than physically. Because I mean, there's tons of people that are physically able to probably kick a 54-yard field goal, and it's just whether they can do it under pressure. But still, impressive to see Blake Rupe hit a 54-yarder like that out in the elements. And then Saints get the football back after the Patriots don't really do anything with it. It's the 4:04 mark of the third quarter. It's a 3rd and 7, and Carr passes over the middle for a 13-yard gain to Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas takes a big hit on this play, but holds on. Just like talking earlier about how he's physical, and like after seeing this catch and being able to hold on, I'm thinking Michael Thomas, which I don't like talking about him too much because I'm so afraid that he's just going to pop up and be injured again. But this is the first time I'm really wanting to talk about Michael Thomas. Is that he looks like he's back. He looks like he's back. And yeah, he took that big hit and kind of waved off the field afterwards because it definitely, I'm sure it knocked the breath out of him. But seeing him make these catches and take these hits and pop right back up and flexing on defenders after picking up first downs, like it's got me feeling confident that Michael Thomas is back, and you just love to see it for a player that was so great in his first 4 seasons to, man, they're looking like he may be playing for another team or not playing at all, but now he's back, and I love it. I love seeing Michael Thomas make those crucial catches, those tough catches, and just even though he's taking some big hits, he still makes opposing defenses look silly because they just can't stop it, especially on third down. He's like been the third down conversion king this year. But even with that highlighted play, the Saints weren't really able to do much after that play. So then the Patriots get it back, and it's the 1 minute 13-second mark of the third quarter. It's a 1st and 10, and Mac Jones passes over the middle, kind of off to the right sidelines, past a medium throw over the middle, and it's knocked out. It's originally it gets the receiver catches it and then gets knocked out by Jordan Howding, who's coming in like a torpedo. He's kind of doing kind of a Marcus Williams, like head down, using no arms, but luckily his shoulder hits right on the football and it bounces up in the air and right into the waiting arms of Pete Werner. And that just is that game pretty much over at that point anyways, but they're just at that point they're just kind of piling on to the Patriots with like nothing they can do can go right. So Mac Jones is credited for two interceptions and even the fumble that was on a toss that just seemed more like it wasn't caught by Ramondre Stevenson. So then it's the 14. So it's going into the fourth quarter at the 14:28 mark of the fourth quarter. It's a 2nd and 10, and Alvin Kamara shows great balance. Like this was a crazy play as well, where he looks like he's like Alvin Kamara looks like he's like split-legged, like almost out of bounds, and then regains his balance and picks up 13 yards on a catch. That was a crazy play. You saw a lot of that, like great balance and strength out of Taysom Hill and Kendra Miller, and of course Alvin Kamara in this game. Like that's what this team needs to build off of. Is the yards after catch and yards after contact on runs, because the Saints really have just been kind of living and dying by a shot play here or there at the end of the fourth quarter. But if they can pick up consistent chunks here and there and have some run after catch ability that's a little consistent, that would go a long way in helping their offense continue to be good and continue to be able to put up more than 21 points a game. And then Saints, they get down into the red zone goal to goal area. It's the 13-10 mark of the fourth quarter. It's a second and goal. And Carr has this. This is something it's been a while since I've seen a play like this. The Saints do something like this. He shovels it forward to like right in the middle of the offensive line there. Foster Monroe kind of just sat down and he shovels it forward to Foster Monroe for a 6-yard touchdown. He just breaks some tackles and bullies his way in for a touchdown offense behind the entire offensive line. That was a neat play, and that was nice to see Foster Monroe get his first touchdown as a Saint and see him come back from being healthy after missing the last 2 games that they've lost. I think having him back definitely helped in the blocking game, passing pass blocking and run blocking, and he even was able to help offensively a little bit with adding a 6-yard touchdown catch that he said that he spiked the football into oblivion. So I think there was a lot of emotion there for him as well, getting his first score since he's come back through all the cancer troubles and journey that he's been on. So that was great to see as well. And then there's really only a couple more moments that happened in this game. Nothing too exciting after that. The Saints were up 31-0, So this is everything afterwards is just kind of piling on a little bit and just kind of garbage yards and points for both teams, because this game was over. But I still want to harp on Chris Olave's play a little bit in this game and just the last 2 games in general. It's the 5:53 mark of the fourth quarter. It's a 3, 3rd and 6 at the Patriots 30, and Carr goes deep to Olave, and he just drops a touchdown. I thought this play was going to be similar to like the Calvin Johnson dropped it game or Des Bryant caught it game or even the A.T. Perry touchdown in the preseason where he caught it and made like 2 steps and then fell over the goal line and then lost the ball. Like I honestly thought it was a touchdown, but because it wasn't, I'm marking it up as Olave having a drop touchdown. But I honestly thought that they could have challenged that or looked at that and overturned it for a touchdown. But at that point in the game, there was really no point in doing that because that would have took the lead to like 38-0, which was just wouldn't have been necessary. But still, you want to see Olave come down with those. It's kind of a similar play to the one against the Buccaneers where he just kind of has the ball kind of come to him and he's not attacking it with his hands and it gets knocked out or he's dropping it. And, luckily it wasn't in a crucial moment or the game wasn't closer because things like that can be backbreaking. And we already saw it. We saw how backbreaking it could be in the game against the Buccaneers last week. So then the Saints just have to kind of settle for a field goal there at the 5:47 mark of the fourth quarter. It's a 4th and 12. I think the Saints got a penalty that backed them up because they were thinking about going for it there on 3rd and 6, which would have just been kind of running the score up a little bit. They would have converted it and ended up getting a touchdown. But Blake Grupe, he nails another 50-yarder. He nails a 53-yard field goal, and that's close to tying his career, which was the 54 that he kicked earlier. So seeing Blake Grupe kick these 50-plus yard field goals outdoors after his little skid, little bad moment, missing the possible game winner against Green Bay, it's just great to see. A lot of bounce back out of players in this game. So that was great. It was a very enjoyable and stress-free game to watch, which was the first one that Saints have had all year. Besides the first half of the Green Bay game was pretty enjoyable and stress-free, but then that turned into a complete nightmare. But let's go over some stats here real quick. Then I'll get into player of the game, hot take, and game pick. So Derek Carr He didn't have an amazing game really, but was a good game manager, and you could tell that he was healthy. That was the difference between this game and the game against the Buccaneers, because you could tell that he had he had more zip on the ball and was able to throw the deep ball better and was more accurate. You could definitely tell that he was dealing with something and what wasn't as efficient with how he must have been feeling in the game against the Buccaneers. So now I originally wasn't wanting to use that as an excuse for the Saints losing against the Green Bay and losing to the Buccaneers, but I kind of want to use that as an excuse now. I kind of want to say that the Saints should be 5-0. They would be 5-0 if it wasn't for the Derek Carr injury. But he was 18 for 26, 183 yards, two touchdowns, no interceptions. That's the big one. 114.7 quarterback rating. Very similar to kind of some of the Andy Dalton games last year, but Andy Dalton can't make some of the throws that Derek Carr makes, but just the stat line. So Derek Carr looked good. And then the running game, they were good in the running game. Alvin Kamara had 22 carries for 80 yards. It's only a 33.6 yard per carry average and only had a long of 10, but had the one touchdown. But just the fact that they're able to run and stuck with the run, it's easy to do that when you have the lead the entire time. But regardless, I think that's something they abandoned really early in the game against the Buccaneers. And then Kendra Miller, he had added 12 carries for 37 yards with a 3.1 yard average and had a long of 8. And then Taysom Hill had 3 carries for 19 yards, a 6.3 yard average, and a long of 12. So just consistently, just sticking with the run, will get you over 100 yards rushing for the day, which is big for the Saints. I think it really just opens up everything else for the team. And then receivers, Michael Thomas was your leading receiver, had 4 catches. I think maybe all 4 of those were catches on third down and that he converted. And he had 65 yards for them, a 16.3 yard average, a long of 26 off of 7 targets. So Derek Carr was really targeting Michael Thomas and definitely targeting him on third down, like he was the go-to receiver on third downs in this game. And then Kendra Miller, your second leading receiver in this game. That was a little surprise. Kendra Miller doing his best Alvin Kamara impersonation, had 4 catches for 53 yards on a 13.3 yard average with the big 33-yard dump off catch and run. And that was off of 4 targets, catching all 4 catches. So he's showing that he can catch. I think that's something people should have started realizing when he had that crazy diving catch down the sideline on a wheel route against the San Diego Chargers in the preseason. So he's carrying kind of like Brian Breesy, was great in the preseason and has been great in the regular season. Now that Kendra Miller is healthy, he's carrying over some of that performance into the regular season. And you just love to see it. And then Rashid Shaheed, he had 2 catches for 28 yards at 14 average, 25 long off of 2 targets. So he caught all his targets. And then Alvin Kamara only had 3 catches for 17 yards with a 5.7 average with a 12 long. And that was off of 3 targets. And then Chris Olave, who I thought had kind of a rough outing, definitely with the stat line he did. He had only 2 catches for 12 yards, albeit one was for like a 5-yard touchdown. And that was off of that was a 6 yards a catch average and a long of 7, and had the 1 TD, which that's great. That's really what people care about are the TDs. But he had 5 total targets. And I would say the other 2 targets were the ones where he wasn't able to stay in bounds, and then the drop touchdown. So he should have caught everything that was thrown to him and probably added another 60 yards and a touchdown. Like his stat line should be 60, more like 7. It should be like 5 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns is really what his stat line should be. But he just, I don't know, he's in a little bit of a slump. And then you just have Foster Monroe with the one catch for 6 yards and touchdown. That's pretty much do it for the receivers. And then Blake Rupe, who was great, he was 2 for 2 on field goals, 100% on extra points, 4 for 4 on extra points, and had 10 points with a long of 54. So just his 10 points alone would have been enough to beat the Patriots, who weren't able to score a single point. And then Rashid Shaheed had one kickoff return for 18. We already know about him probably be better off just calling fair catch for a lot of his plays, but then had three punt returns for 22 yards with a 7.3 yard average. I think one of those was he got most of those yards off of just one punt return that went for like 16 yards or something like that. So Rashid maybe not making the wisest decision on not calling fair catch as often on kick returns, but he's showing that he's still got that explosiveness and big playability in the punt return game. And then Lou Hedley, he looked okay, just okay. He definitely wasn't as bad as Bryce Behringer, the punter for the Patriots, who had at least 3 punts that barely got to midfield, and one of them, I think it was the Saints' second drive, maybe that set Saints up like at the Patriots' own 40-yard line. So he was terrible. But Lou Hedley had 7 punts with the 43.9 average. Had 3 inside the 20, which that was good. That was something noticeable in this game, is that the Saints controlled like field position the entire game, but one of those punts was from like midfield and it ended up being a touchback. So that's kind of a negative there. But he did have a 55-yard long. But that's what they were saying about Bryce Behringer, is that he's good at directional punting. But he had 8 punts with a 44.4 average, 5 inside the 20, and a long of 57. But he had some shanks in there as well. But then on to the defense here. Cam Jordan had 2 assisted tackles with a half a sack and the fumble recovery. And then find our tackle leaders. And then Demario Davis was your lead tackler on the day with 6 total tackles, 3 solo, and a pass deflection. And then Tyrann Mathieu, he was just playing center field, a free safety, kind of a roamer in this game. Didn't have any tackles, but had arguably the biggest play of the game with a interception, return for 27 yards and a touchdown, and then also added a pass deflection to that. And then Tano Passanio had two tackles, 1 solo, and shared that half a sack with Cam Jordan. And then Carl Granderson had 4 tackles, 3 solo, one sack, and definitely a quarterback hit that caused the interception that was returned for 6 by Tyrann Mathieu. But I think he also had 3 tackles for loss in this game, or at least 2. And then Pete Warner had three catches, or 3 tackles, 2 assisted, and the interception and a pass deflection. And Cam Jordan also had the fumble recovery between the little mix-up between Mac Jones and Ramondre Stevenson. So that's pretty much the gist of the game. The Saints just dominated from pretty much start to finish, and didn't really put up big numbers offensively because they just really didn't have to. Their defense was getting takeaways and putting them in good field position all day, and the Patriots just looked pretty much inept. But let's get to player of the game and hot take and game pick now. So my player of the game was, I was kind of a little hard. I was definitely highlighting the fact that Alvin Kamara had like 13 catches for 33 yards. in the game against the Bucks. So I was expecting him to do more with that, and I just went solely and strictly off of the catches, thinking that he's going to have 10 catches, but he's going to have 100 yards get 100 yards out of them. But he ended up having more rushing yards. So he only had the three catches for 17 yards, but he had 80 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So he kind of flipped my prediction a little bit. So I'm not going to take full soul possession of that as a win, saying that, I picked Alvin Kamara as a player of the game, but he probably was their best player offensively. It's debatable uh, between him and Michael Thomas. But Alvin Kamara, he still had a good game. So I'd take half credit for that, just because he didn't put up the yards in the receiving game that I expected him to, because Kendra Miller did. Kendra Miller picked up all the yards on the ground out of the backfield for the running backs. So I would only credit myself a half of a point for that. And then my hot take of the game is that I thought Mac Jones, just like the game in 2021 in Foxborough against the Saints, was again in Foxborough, was going to throw three interceptions again. And he didn't throw the three interceptions. He threw two of them, but he also had a fumble as well. So I'm going to take credit for that. I think that's a pretty good hot take, predicting that the opposing quarterback is going to have three turnovers, even though I specified them as all interceptions. But he accounted for all the Patriots turnovers in this game, all three of them, just like I thought he might throw three interceptions. And just like the game in 2021, he threw another pick six against the Saints. Malcolm Jenkins, he's kind of been long gone, but we've replaced him with Tyrann Mathieu, who showed he can do just as good. He did his best Malcolm Jenkins in Foxborough against Mac Jones impression on Sunday. So that was nice to say. So I got 1.5 credit for these first two like game picks here. And then this has me feeling a little funny about picking against the Saints, because now every game that I've picked for them to win, they've won, and every game I've picked them to lose, they've lost. So it makes me feel like maybe on these pre-game shows that maybe I should just stick with picking the Saints to win regardless, because I love being right, but I don't like being right when it's a negative for the Saints. So I just said going into this game that I felt more confident about this game. There just felt to be kind of an oddness, a cloud kind of over the game against Green Bay, and then just nothing felt right going in the game against the Buccaneers because of the Derek Carr injury, which now I'm placing all blame for the Saints' two losses this season on injury. But so I picked the Saints to win this. I was saying they're going to score 22 points, so they're going to break the streak of not being able to score 22, 20, 20, 21 points a game offensively, and then they're going to renew the streak of holding teams under 21 points. And they did that, but they blew out. They blew it out both ways. I did not see them scoring this many points, and I did not. Definitely, I know it's hard for anyone to ever predict a shutout, but I predicted them to score just 22 points and win by a field goal. So I picked the Saints to win 22-19, and that I would say my score prediction wasn't right, but at least I picked the Saints to win. And maybe for now on, until the streak and trend kind of gets bucked, maybe I'll just be picking the Saints to win every game until it shows that my opinion doesn't matter too much in regards to juju and jinxing them. But so I would take half credit for that, because the Saints did score more than 21 points and they held the Patriots under 21 points. So I would take a solid 2 points for that on my player of the game, hot take, and game pick. But anyways, the Saints are 3-2, and the season was over to a lot of people. That they thought the season was pretty much over, and they just need to tank for Caleb after the game against the against the Buccaneers the loss, but now they're 3-2 and coming off a big blowout over Bill Belichick's New England Patriots, and we're right back in it. We're Super Bowl bound now. I love the flows and the eves and flows of an NFL season where it goes from the darkest of darks to the highest of highs from week to week. And if you've been a Saints fan, you should be used to that by now. But anyways, I'm feeling kind of good. I'm feeling good about the game against the Houston Texans now. I'm feeling good. C.J. Stroud, he's looked really good. Been the best rookie quarterback, maybe offensive rookie of the year so far. But I like the Saints' chances of going in there and getting a win off of rookie quarterbacks because through the history of Dennis Allen, they've performed really well. The defense has performed really well against rookies, uh, and uh, and I've complained a little bit about the Saints not getting to play like back home games, you know. But this will help. This is a road game, but it's in Houston, so it's not really that far from New Orleans. So they play a game that's essentially at home. I guess they don't get the home field advantage with the crowd, but they don't have to travel at least, which is nice. And then just a couple of days later, like 4 days later, they have to play against Jacksonville. But this makes me feel a little bit better that they got a win and they're able to come home and practice the majority of the week in New Orleans and then just travel out for the game. So I feel good about this game. I could definitely see the Saints going to 4-2 after this next game against the Houston Texans in Houston. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you this evening. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?